How's that for energy, right? This is our first time using that music. I'm hoping that if it's too much, everyone will, of course, let me know, and we will make adjustments as we go. Let me bring up Mate from the Orbit and the Core. Hey, Mate, how are you?
Hey Jeff, hey, thank you very much. I'm good, good. Very sorry for being late.
No, no.
We had, we actually had just one of the most significant event of Orbit launch yet, but let me tell you about it later a bit.
Yeah, let me bring up your audio a bit to make sure we get you, and you might get closer to your microphone too. Or there you go. I can adjust your volume as well. Make sure we hear every word. Don't want to miss a thing.
All right, how does it sound now? Is it all
Sounds
right?
great. Sounds great. Yeah. All
Good,
right.
good.
Let me introduce everybody. So, welcome again. If you're not familiar with who we are at YOM, because some people are still finding our channel, YOM is building a decentralized cloud gaming network. And what we mean is we can get AAA quality games to cloud stream from any URL or inside a Telegram with low latency, super low cost. This is a way to change gaming forever. We're going to make it super easy for people who don't have the big high-end gaming rigs to be able to play the best games. And that's how we got in touch with Mate. So Mate is the founder of Orbit and the Core. So his background, we'll go into this a little bit, but it started with investment banking. Then he moved into building Neobank projects and even helped, and we'll talk to him about this, but helped launch the first CBDC in the EU. But now you're into the Web3 game space. Actually, I guess you're saying the Core is not really a game. It's more of a virtual space nation, which is, of course, interesting. And I'm sure it's an unusual journey. So I'm very excited to hear about how it all came about. Mate, let's dive into it. Welcome to the show.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Like you said, I've been to a couple of aspects of the financial and the technical world. So I can say that one thing is for sure that I'm trying to keep it interesting.
So how did you get started? Where was the first time you learned about blockchain and Bitcoin and then decided to take the dive? I always find these stories very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess everybody has its own exciting story about it, right? I think, just putting it very short, uh, it started around 2012 at the university. That was my first interaction with Bitcoin. First big mistake, didn't research it enough. So I just said, yeah, it's some kind of virtual currency. Then 2012, we were sitting at the desk with my colleagues at the city at that time, and my colleague said that, hey, have you heard about cryptocurrencies? Yeah, no, I know about Bitcoin. And he said that, you know, that there's actually hundreds of them. And I was like, hey, what? And what do they do? And what's this whole thing? And we had to look at it. Even CoinMarketCap was live at that time, and we said, yeah, I mean, probably you're never gonna make as much money with it as Bitcoin, right? So yeah, let's just leave it. That was like 5 years before Ethereum. And second mistake, I didn't research it. Then 2016, 17. That's when I came back from London to Budapest. I'm actually from Budapest, Hungary, and it's really funny because at that time my father was asking me, "Hey, Mate, do you know about this Bitcoin? And have you heard that there's like a second really cool cryptocurrency, Ethereum?" And I was like, "Okay." I spent at least 8 years in the institutional and enterprise world, and now I get back home. I wanted to do my own thing, and I said, okay, now is the time to research this stuff, and I just want to answer my father what this whole thing is about. And then I watched, I think in the first night, I watched 3 documentaries about Bitcoin, then white paper, then I read the Ethereum white paper, and that's when it ticked that, oh, there's something really interesting happening here. And my first takeaway was as I read the Ethereum white paper is that this method, this system, this decentralized way is just much more efficient for security markets. So putting every securities on chain and solving the problem of, for example, trading a US stock from Hungary. I mean, that's something that has not been solved efficiently since then at all. So it's I just felt, guys, there's something happening here, and that's when the journey started. I had my first DeFi startup in 2018. That was a project a little bit way too early for the market. That's another funny story. Then I went on with another project, the banking project that what I talked about you about, or you even mentioned, that's connected to the crypto, and we had a vision for crypto. But that was a little bit more focused on neobanks and how basically neobanks abstract away the complexities of the financial industry, which is a really interesting benchmark that we can actually move into the crypto space as well, especially the gaming side. And yet, 2 years ago, I decided that I just had enough of this really serious businesses, banking world and everything, and I wanted to do something. I wanted to take on a topic which can entertain me for 20 years, and for that I had to gather all my three interests. And one interest is, as we talked about, Web3 and the possibility of this open economies and tokenization and the global market. So I think that's fascinating from financial markets perspective. The other thing is strategy games. I always love strategy games. I always like empire building strategy games. So that was always my thing. And the third thing is space. So space is out there, and I understand that in our lifetime we are not gonna discover it, the whole thing, and we are not gonna understand the whole thing at all. But we're gonna make progress. And I just had this idea that why don't we create a version of it which is realistic but also like free, so just accelerate the whole space exploration to just a few years instead of like waiting for possibly thousands of years. And possibly everybody is interested in space in some way, so basically we are trying to make a space for the people who would like to be in space.
So it's interesting where we cross over in our journeys is, when once I got into the Web3 space and Web3 gaming and the whole concept, I jumped into the metaverse craze because the idea of a metaverse, it interests me, but it had the biggest draw for me was the idea that we could design an economy in your metaverse, in your space, that's different from what we currently do with fiat. We could, like, all the problems that we have with the fiat currency system, we could fix it and do it the right way inside of one of these metaverses or open world games that are massive. Kind of what I don't know if that's part of the central focus of the core, but it is kind of interesting that right away you can make changes, and with the blockchain technology we can do a transfer system for value that treats people well, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. That's one pillar, I guess, in our own vision. Because if you think about because how you describe it, you are coming from two words. One is like economical world, and the other thing is like a metaverse, which is like a digital representation of like an alternative environment. And my take on metaverse is that it had its run in 2020. But I just felt at that time that metaverse is taking itself a little bit too serious.
Oh yeah.
So it's just one, and if you compare two metaverse vision, one is when you sit together in business meetings in your artificial suite, versus the metaverse concept that, for example, you can see in the Ready Player One movie, the Oasis. Those are two really different interpretation of metaverse, and I think that the Oasis is extremely fun, and I don't really see the point in the other one, in faking business meetings and talking with holograms. I mean, probably there is a place for that, but it's like that's just not that catchy.
What I always say about metaverses is you want it to be more fun than real life. I've already got real life, and I'm kind of
indeed, and it's boring, yeah.
Right. Let me bring up the site, and then we'll let people see exactly what you walk through the core website and talk to us a little bit about what you're building here. I'm going to do this right here. There we go. So talk us through a little bit.
Yeah. So what we want to express first as any visitor arrives to this place is that the core is basically a universe that we build ourselves, and everybody has a stake in it. And how we explore the whole world is that we take people on a little historical journey into the future, actually. So if you scroll right to the top, what you actually see is that our lore is starting in 2040. And by 2040, we basically reflect a little bit on the it's a little bit Black Mirror-ish in some way.
Okay.
So we take the advancements that currently gonna drive humanity for the next couple of decades. One is like robotics and humanoid robots. The other thing is AI, and the third thing is AI actually implemented, or even robotics AI implemented into the humans. Because if you think about it, AI is extremely cool, robots are extremely cool, but you can apply both technology to actually enhance humanity's or individual human capabilities. And having all these implemented into your body, into your bones, into your head, that's just a matter of time. Because there is no realistic way that people say that, hey, I don't want to be smarter, I don't want to be faster, I don't want to be stronger. uh, so it's probably something that's gonna evolve in the next couple of decades too. And we take these technologies and we say that, okay, humanity has evolved because these technological implementations are actually not part of the life. But if you scroll down a little bit, what all these technological advancements eventually require is basically endless source of energy and power. So humanity is trying to solve this power, but this power need, and that's when we start the journey of our alternative universe. That's basically our event. It's kind of that's how we call it. It's the Great Reset. But this is also where we of course, we don't want this event happening in real world, but this is our clue to actually get away from reality and start an alternative history. So we take it realistic until like the next couple of decades, but then we take a turn. We call it the Great Reset, which is in this case basically the first piece of the narrative that players are discovering. And that is basically driven by a new invention, which is a quantum reactor, which when it's launched, this was supposed to be the solution for all the energy needs of humanity, but there was a disaster. It blew up, and we don't exactly know why it blew up, but it basically set humanity into collapse for a couple of decades. Little Mad Max is happening, and then after a few decades, so basically, let's say, if you count it, it's like after 2 generations, there is the restart. And that's when we have Maya, we have the other explorers, and they are actually the ones who other players can join into and start rebuilding humanity. And first we start building the technology, but how we build the technology is that people own the technology. So they need to get the resources, then they need to build the technology to fly into outer space, and then they need to start building stations. And they are the ones who create these elements, and they are the ones who also own these elements and benefits or use these elements. So that's how the narrative starts. And there are many questions. One question is what happened in the past. The other question is that what's in space. So
right.
And there are probably endless answers in this.
And the game is a lot of user generated content, or you allow the players to kind of build their space out and then connect them all together. Am I getting that right, the game mechanic wise?
Yeah. So right now we are helping them to create these structures, but eventually we will allow them to create whatever they want. So right now we have a couple of prefabricated technological inventions that we bring into the game just to get started. But there will be a point in time where we actually let the game kind of develop itself. And that's where AI technology, we probably even had a session, or everybody right now is understand the capabilities of AI. So, I mean, from my perspective, my selling point for the core is not AI, because I think everybody should use AI by now. So that just doesn't differentiate basically one project from another. So we use AI how it should be used in the next couple of decades in gaming. And how we use AI is that first we are gonna create a game master of AI, which will be able to navigate between fractions and drive the narrative, like micro narrative stories between the different fractions of the universe. But we also use generative AI technology to create the structures that they decide to come up with. So for example, in the future, where let's say that there is a fraction on Mars and there's a fraction on Earth, and that there's a little bit of debate between them, and Earth wants to attack Mars, they will have the chance to come up with an invention with the help of AI, and the AI will have them create the blueprint, and then the AI will navigate how that conflict will basically evolve and result between the two fractions. And on that note, the conflict is not predetermined. The structures, the story is not predetermined. Everything will be based on players' decision and how they want to react. The AI is just there to assist with the narrative, with the communication, putting spice here and there, evaluating some chances in the game, and then eventually, create create the environment, but the players will drive what they want to do, where they want to go, how they want to play it, who they want to fight, with what they want to fight, whether they want to build like a space fleet or whether they want to build like a huge laser to shoot at them. This is all up to the players after a while.
It plays off of what we've said over here at YOM when we talk about like what our technology does for the gaming space. It opens up the ability for anybody to play who's got internet access. But what we expect is going to happen is new genres of games, new formats. Like it was said in that report that I did a couple of weeks ago that the battle royale game genre came about not just because someone had a great idea for making a battle royale game, because those had existed before, but the way that they took off was because the technology that allowed more interactions and better communication between multiplayers in the battle royale format, we got stronger and stronger and better, and then that genre kind of came to absorb that new technology, or as it building that kind of game genre, the technology was built at the same time to make it better and better. And we think that having decentralized cloud gaming and then is going to enable, and then we're also working with like serverless servers that allow for a massive amount of players at the same time without sharding. This is going to create a whole new genre of games, and the things that you're, the kind of things that the core is talking about, where everyone has this little section of space and they get to build things, and then what I build affects what you build in your portion of the game, and not predetermined games stories that are on a linear path that the game designers say that this has to happen at this event and then this event follows, but more the world itself or the AI that controls the whole game reacts to everybody's input and changes it, and then the game evolves as it builds, which I think is going to be awesome. I mean, it's going to be, again, something that we've never, you couldn't even dream of doing it right now with the technology that exists, but it's just going to get better and better.
Indeed, yeah, definitely. We even have our own definition. I'm not even sure whether it's like an official definition already used it or not, but we call this new genre dynamic strategy games, dynamic empire building games, and the whole idea is that it's not predetermined. We don't spend like 6 years of building the world like GTA does. Instead of, we create the framework and then we will eventually let AI to create the world. But to be honest, we are also not even sure. So there are different power that you can give AI, but there's one power that you can give is not to, people don't need to fight against AI, and AI don't even need to come up with new things by its own. It's AI can be just a game master that facilitates the interactions and just serve people. So that's like that's the strongest thing that we are gonna do, and then we will see however aspects we do, but that's basically doesn't really have any risk. So that doesn't have the risk that AI will take over and delete everything from the game, because that's not why we use it for. So it's
let's make that term famous. Dynamic strategy games. Is that what you said?
Yeah. If it doesn't exist, then I was the first saying it.
All right, we'll give it gets credit for the term, but we're using it now. Dynamic strategy.
Yeah, you can spread it. Always tag me.
Absolutely. All right, and but you're not sitting still too, because you also created the Orbit platform, which is the other thing we wanted to talk about today. Because projects like ours, we get involved with KOLs, where we want to employ KOLs to help spread the message of our product. KOLs, for people maybe not familiar with the term, but knowledge and opinion leaders, right, or known opinion leaders. That's two different ways of saying it. But it's people who are influencers in the space who can help promote a project through their social media, because ultimately we only have so much reach ourselves. And there's a double-edged sword to KOLs. Sometimes they can, if you're not careful about who you partner up with, they can lead you on a path that just kind of brings in paper hands, and that can be detrimental to you. But if you use them well, and the KOLs that you find have real buy-in for your project, they become real advocates for what you're trying to build. So talk to me a little bit about the Orbit platform. What gave you the idea to build it, and then we'll bring up the site too.
Yeah, thank you. So I think there are two things to mention here, just to keep it short. One thing is that there are exactly what you said first. So it's you need to find the right partners, how you spread the project with, and there is so much noise in Web3, and there is so much distrust in Web3 still. So even though that we have this trustless technology that is supposed to work and serve everybody, there is always risk around even providers, with KOS, with partners, so everything. So and the KOM industry is also changing. So Of course, there were the big KOS, top tier KOS, the huge influencers, but the impact is deteriorating because they are getting exhausted a little bit. Because I mean, eventually everyone knows that they're a market project, so I mean, it's like no surprise there. I mean, there is that kind of, but there's also this evolving layer of micro KOS who want to be big KOS, but all projects are using them. So when you launch like a campaign, a TGA campaign, you use like hundreds of micro KOS, and they might be even much more efficient than like working with huge KOS because the combined reach can actually be much larger than the reach of the one KOS. That, for example, charges you $10,000, maybe you can get like a $2,000 for like 100 micro KOS, and they reach like 20 million people combined. But on the other hand, the top tier KOL has just like 2 million people. So that's one thing. Other thing is that you somehow need to clear up this fake traction all over the place. So, there's all these, bots and fake followers and, artificial traction. AI is coming in. AI is bringing in even more artificial traction, comments, followers, whatever you call it, DMs all over the place. So, I mean, AI agents are everywhere. So, I mean, at least going to be everywhere probably in 6 months. So there needs to be some way how we clear this up. So that's one thing. Other thing is that if you want to build, and this is a little bit reflecting back to like you introduced the game. It's not just a game. It's more like a space nation because it has gamified elements. But what we are trying to build here is something that can get people attached for like decades, and there is not an end to it. There is not there's no expression like I played the whole core. So there's not gonna be happening such things. So you just can't tick all the possibilities in the core because it's gonna always evolve. So we have this question that how we keep people around and how we constantly bring the core back to attention. And our solution for that is that we serve the potential ecosystem or stakeholders of the core. And if you think about stakeholders, we have the players, we have the influencers who are always trying to bring in their communities into a game. They can become clan leaders in the game, so they can have their own fraction. They can aim for joint missions. They can aim for joint goals. So, for example, US KOL can bring all their followers and say, okay, I want to occupy former America. So that's how we want to facilitate KOS. So KOS can already create clans in the core, but also we have the players and mixing it the two things. So working with KOS and helping KOS, basically what KOS do every day, they want to get deals. So we need to help them get deals, because if we have them get deals, then they're gonna come back every day looking for deals. But if we create an ecosystem for them, and on that note again on wider terms, so we create an ecosystem for players, KOS, Web3 projects who are also looking for KOS and players, and maybe even involve the investors who invest in projects, cryptocurrency, anything. So we can create like an ecosystem platform for them, which they visit every day, and that platform is always just one step away from the core because it basically surrounds the core. So you log into the ecosystem platform and you see that, okay, yeah, you actually have resources in the core, and then it's okay, it's just one click away to actually build something with that. So that's from my perspective, it's the most simple idea that I ever had, to be honest, to how to connect an ecosystem with the game. But basically that's our I can say that's our attempt to somehow digest all these huge marketing budgets that doesn't even result in the expected result or expected outcome, and we basically try to serve the potential ecosystem members, and then if they like, then they can come to the core. But they're gonna be back every day or every week or every month, because we do something that they would do in their everyday lives. So yeah, last sentence, basically we are trying to make the core part of the everyday life, and it's not just about gaming, but collaborating, working with others. Just do your stuff and do your stuff in the core, where you can also play, but you can also do your standalone things that you want to do.
And Orbit has taken off already. I mean, you haven't launched it. It hasn't been that long ago that you launched, but you're already getting all kinds of interest. I know that our project is part of it. The campaign that we only launched a single.
Yeah, I really appreciate that already. You were one of the first, right?
Yeah. And we've already kind of roped in 7 or 8 micro KOLs in that short amount of time who are asking if they can take on our campaign. Now, our campaign's pretty involved and not really made for every KOL because we're asking for more AMAs and videos, this kind of thing. But still, the response has been pretty nice. And what we like about it, or what appealed to me anyways, I have a general thesis that authenticity is going to win out the day. Like, because everyone has equal or nearly equal access to the communication channels that we're using these days, you're seeing more and more authentic people on every format, right? You see it's the stuff that hits, true to life gets the most popularity and gets the most likes, and then the people who are faking it, I think, are going to be found out too quickly or quicker than in the past. You're seeing people kind of return to, hey, this is just a regular guy who's doing this thing and saying this thing. And I like that about what we're doing with YOM, because what we're saying is the individual game developers on Unreal can put their content on our network, and it doesn't cost them anything, and they get to bring their quirky little game out to the masses. We enable that. And I think that this is the same type of thing. People who are trying to be authentic KOLs, micro KOLs, they've got to have a good place to start. A platform like Orbit, I think, really opens up the world for them.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we have the Boost, and the Boost is basically like a tool for appreciation. So, like I said, Orbit is not just organizing campaigns and finding KOS and matching KOS with Web3 projects, but it also tries to make it a little bit more transparent and trusted, like I said, and that's what the boosts are for. So boost is basically an appreciation that you had a good collaboration, and you can give boost to KOL if you like how you collaborated, and that is basically if you have to choose between a KOL who has like 200,000 followers and the KOL who has like 50,000 followers, the big KOL has 0 boost, but the small KOL has like 20 boosts, then you will probably choose the small KOL because you know that other projects are satisfied with his results, and there's no risk in collaborating with the KOL. So
it's true, because
and that's vice versa for projects too, right?
Yeah. I mean, big following can sometimes mean that you're just not very responsive, or they don't take the time to even learn what your project is. And I would much rather work with somebody who understands what it is that we're building and is championing it and really feeling the love of it, rather than someone who's just got a lot of followers and is just trying to pump and dump more stuff. Because we've seen that. I think it's just ultimately detrimental to this entire marketplace. We're trying to convince the rest of the world that the Web3 space is serious, and it's not just a bunch of scammers. But we've had, I mean, it is easy, or it was easier in the past to come in and make a bunch of money and exit, just completely rug people, and people were putting up with it. But ultimately, that is self-defeating, and I think we're going to get to a space, and hopefully not before too long, where that kind of thing just isn't tolerated anymore, and authenticity, like I said, wins the day.
Yeah, exactly. I agree completely. So if you think about, there are 37 million cryptocurrencies out there, and we understand that, for example, why PumpFun is a popular platform, but that also, I actually explained it today that there's this scissor widening in the projects, and there is going to be the legit projects where the founders, and they might even aim for like a regulated environment, with these all new regulations around, for example, MiCA allowing utility token issuance in an approved way. There will be those projects which has this I can even say that that little blue tick on CoinMarketCap. I'm forecasting a feature on CoinMarketCap, and the little blue tick means that this is a trustable project, and this is a trustable cryptocurrency because we know the founders, and it has like a regulatory approval somewhere for operations. So that it's not gonna disappear from one day to another, because it was, even the project invested into making it lasting compared to other cryptocurrencies which might have huge market cap, but but no founders behind it, that risky regulatory environment, and those we're not gonna have the blue tick. So
well, remember, I go back 6 years ago. 6 years ago, projects would launch, and you wouldn't even the founders wouldn't even put their full names, right? They would stay kind of anonymous, which you just don't get away with any longer. So we've already seen the evolution of the space, getting smarter and smarter, and saying, hey, this project, their leadership isn't even doxed, so we're not going to get involved in that project. But it's, again, I think we're starting to see strides in the right direction. So I'm hopeful that we get to see even more of that. Hey, Mate, if someone else who's listening has got a project and they want to get involved in Orbit, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so Orbit is basically free for anyone to start. So on that note, we just don't feel that we need to charge for connecting people. I never understood that business model, so that was not my thing. If I invite you, a friend, and he's gonna, I don't know, buy your services and give me 10%. I mean, that's that's not something that I've seen the value. So the way you can start Orbit is basically free for projects, free for KOS. Like you mentioned, we do have some traction. So we basically just crossed 7.5 million indirect followers all follower audience. We actually looks like that we launched the first huge tier 1 KOL with 1.5 million followers. So we still need to work on that a little bit, but we get the attention of big guys too, and yeah, probably there are thousands of KOLs out there who are looking for deals. So I mean, if you guys want to choose and maybe work for YOM there, and then you can easily get connected with the guys.
Yeah, it's a good system, like you're saying. We could onesie twosie with different KOLs that we come across or who reach out to us, because I'm bombarded daily in my Telegram with another KOL who wants to like pump our project through like a Binance space or something like that. And basically, we have to kind of say, well, I don't know if I can trust you yet. But you got a system like Orbit's got the boost system. I can immediately look in and say, okay, well, 4 of the projects he's done 4 of the projects or 40 other projects. He's got a lot of boost. He's got a lot of a lot of trust has already been built up in them. That makes it much easier for me to go ahead and say, all right, I'm going to go ahead and partner with this KOL. So it sounds like a great way to, it's a great service I think you're doing. And hey, I don't fault you for wanting to charge a little bit anyways don't charge us, we're already here. But down the road, if you want to charge people because you're doing the service of putting people together and building the rating system, I mean, you obviously put work into this. I don't think it's so hard to do, but I'm also happy that you're doing it as a free service. We appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, we will see how it goes. I think the closest things that we will do is like some convenience features, but we are actually working on the whole token economics across the whole project. So the core and Orbit together, because we still want to do this as a joint ecosystem. And probably that's the right way to do it. So we are actually updating our whole concept on that and discussing it with a couple of experts. And we are just harvesting some opinions that what would make the most sense. And we are at the last pieces of that story too. So probably we are gonna announce some alternative versions of this whole how you can. On the way how you interact with our platforms and everything, and
all right.
Probably that's going to be something.
I'll make sure that we include all the different the connections. Now, is the core live? Can people play the game already?
Yeah, the core has an MVP version out. We do want to test a couple of things first before we actually do our final big launch. I mean, not final, but setting the stage for future development. So right now, people can start in the core, setting up their little empires. They can start harvesting resources, and they can get the feeling how the whole thing comes together. But we are going to have like many big releases in the next couple of weeks and months. So basically, the next quarter is about transforming the core from an MVP into a more realistic game out there, because right now you will see like a design from the 2000s or something like that, but we are currently doing lots of improvements, and we're also, as a spoiler, gonna launch our first Telegram game with the core, because the core is not just a web-based game. It's basically a world which you will be able to interact for multiple directions, and we understand that Telegram is basically a way how we can get the attention with the more action-oriented fun experience, and that is also gonna loop back into the core narrative. So we're very excited how the community will accept that, and that's basically runs alongside all the repackaging of everything that's out there. So Q2 is gonna be very exciting. So if you guys just take the first look, start getting yourself familiar with it, and keep yourself updated for the next couple of months, then you will probably see something exciting coming.
Sounds like you have the same thesis that we have when we talk about getting Unreal games put inside the Telegram wrapper and then playing Unreal inside a Telegram as a way to direct players to the full game on the website or to the download. It's a pitch. I was at ETH Denver a couple of weeks ago, and it's an instant winner when game studios see that they can get their game inside a Telegram, how fast it can get passed around that way, and then avoiding the whole download and install hesitation that people have. I mean, it almost sells itself. It's got to be one of the easiest things I've ever had to talk people through, because they instantly see the value.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you're going to be there next week. I'm going to GDC in San Francisco. I don't think you're going to be there, right? You're over in France, right?
No, not this time. But
yeah. So a program note for everybody who's tuning in. This town hall won't happen next Thursday because I'll be at Game Developers Conference. But and then the following week, it's going to be another wrap up show where I'll talk about what all I discovered at the Game Developers Conference. So you can tune in for that. But yeah, I think we have the same thesis. When you have your game inside a Telegram, it becomes very easy to spread around and get people to notice you. It's a very powerful tool. Actually, one of the events I'm going to is all about Telegram games. I think it happens on Monday. It's one of the first ones I'm going to be going to when I'm out there next week. So it's a big market.
Yeah. As far as I know, Halika, the Telegram Game Accelerator, they do with Notcoin. They also announcing their first cohort there, which was all about Telegram games. So it's definitely be an exciting event. And yeah, regarding to YOM, I can say that we can't wait to launch our first, more visually appearing mini game, because right now we know that which platform is going to help us to make it streamlined to other platforms too.
Yeah. Well, cool. Did I cover everything? Is there anything I didn't touch on you want to touch on before we say goodbye?
Yeah, no, I think I'm good.
I think, again, I send out that whole form about how we're going to go take this, but I never follow it.
Yeah, no. We always, like you said, trying to keep it authentic, and pre-built questions with pre-built answers is just not the way forward anymore, right?
No one enjoys that. I much prefer to just have the conversation as natural as possible. Dynamic strategy. What's the acronym? DSRTS or dynamic strategy?
DSA, something like that. DSG.
DRTS. Yeah.
We will figure out. Probably people will tell it and then we will use it. We just hand it over, the creation process.
Right. Well, thanks, Mate. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, if you're watching by YouTube, please do that. Subscribe. You don't want to miss any one of these. And then if you haven't followed us yet on Twitter, do that as well. I'll make sure that both the Core and Orbit's Twitter account, I think it's the same Twitter, though, is it not?
Yeah.
I'll make sure it gets put in with the description down below. So make sure you click on that and follow those guys as well. Thanks, Mate.
Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for your attention.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Be good.
Cheers.